Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Hero of Kendrickstone. We're going to dive right in with Chapter 7 Dire Tidings. You spend the next month watching the city die. Even as the world outside the walls bursts with the robust greenery of spring, Kendrickstone withers within its stone bulwarks. The caravans that normally come every spring to rejuvenate the city are nowhere to be seen. The roads are too dangerous, and the bandits in the woods seem to be everywhere at once. Without trade from the outside, the city cannot grow enough food to feed itself, let alone maintain anything save the bare essence of existence. The last of the shops close, and the alehouses and taverns are empty at night. Every day, more houses lie abandoned as their inhabitants flee in a desperate bid to escape the spiraling deprivation. Every day, the pulse of the city grows fainter. With every day, the great city's demise draws closer at hand. If you recall, last time we just found out the bandits could teleport. As your wound heals, oh yeah, and we got hit by an axe, right. As your wounds heal, Master Eisen puts you to work. You take down and organize his notes and rearrange and assemble the equipment. While the wizard himself does the specialized, highly delicate work of spellcasting, you are the one who must ensure he has all the spell components, notes, equipment, and required artifacts on hand for each casting. Most of your days are spent running around the tower as Master Eisen inundates you with a constant stream of demands and questions. It doesn't take you long to pick up the basic concepts of what you are working with, both from the wizard's own hurried explanations and your observations of your master at work. Soon, the alien concepts you are helping the court wizard work with become more and more familiar. However, the specifics of the court wizard's increasingly elaborate experiments remain opaque and arcane. All you know is that Master Ian's desk is increasingly cluttered with elaborate armatures of brass and iron and silver, all centered around that one piece of stone you brought back. And so the month continues, with Master Eisen working feverishly and you helping in any way you can, while below you the lights of the great city dim and die out one by one, never to be relit. Until one morning, you are woken up to a knock at your door. It is Master Eisen, of course. Nobody else lives in the tower. When you open up, you do not find the tired, haggard man you are used to seeing. Instead, Eisen's beard is neatly trimmed, and his face is freshly washed and smelling of rosewater. He wears a silken robe in the colors of the city of Kendrickstone. Only the dark circles under his eyes give a testament to the long nights he must have had. "Isabel," he says, wasting no time, "I need you in your best outfit and ready to head into the city in 10 minutes. Why, you ask, puzzled and still a little groggy. What's going on? The wizard meets your gaze, his eyes bloodshot from fatigue, but still intent. "The Duke has called me to a council meeting. He has ordered me to bring you." You've never seen the Duke's private council chambers before. Even though you have spent nearly an entire year living in the city, you have never once seen that inner sanctum where the ruler of the city makes his most important decisions. Honestly, you expected something bigger. After the tall, imposing arc of the keep's main entrance and the vaulted expanse of the great hall, the council chamber is simply a room, no bigger than the inside of a peasant's cottage. The only thing that gives away its significance are the guards at the two doors and the faint blue glow of protective wards along each wall. At the center is a small oaken table, with a handful of heavy, high-backed chairs around it. Already, the places around the table are filled by three others. Two of the faces are familiar. Dame Mildred of Sonnermercy looks as comfortable in her ankle-high length court gown as she does in her mail and helm. William of Halliford is dressed in a robe and mantle, expensive enough to bankrupt most minor nobles. Eisen of Corlandis wears not Corlandian garb, but what you suppose is his official uniform as court wizard. Last of all, there is, of course, the Duke of Kendrickstone himself. Leofric II, Duke of Kendrickstone, would have once been an immense man, tall and ball-shoulders. Even still, would have once been? Even still, you can see the remnants of mighty muscle with which he Even still, you can see the remnants of the mighty muscles with which he once made his name as a great hero. Now, though, age has taken all but the remnants. Duke Leofric is an old man, and his years and responsibilities have grayed his hair, wrinkled his brow, and stooped his back. An assassin took one of his arms not 5 years ago, and nearly 40 years of rule seems to have taken much else besides. Still, the Duke is impressive, not for his long-aged body, but for the power he still wields, and the reputation he once forged alongside companions like Elaine of Somercy. What do you think of him? He did good as a hero. We want to follow his example. If he's got this kind of pull, or legend, I should say. You keep your thoughts from your face as you approach the table. The guards step outside and close the doors behind them as you take your place. I need a different voice for the Duke. My friends, the Duke begins, his voice deep and resonant. Deep, okay. Even through the mustiness of age. You know of our city's plight. For a year now, these bandits in black have plagued the people of our city, first as a mere nuisance, then as a major threat, and now as a danger to Kendrickstone's very existence. Our efforts to combat this scourge have been great. He spares Dame Mildred a meaningful glance. But not enough. Now, as our city stands on the brink of annihilation, they send us their demands. The Duke produces a scroll, tattered and strained, but still very much legible. This message was attached to an arrow shot from the woods. It reads thus. To His Grace, Duke Leofric of Kendrickstone. Know that my forces have your city's very life within its hand. No trade, no supplies, and no help will come to Kendrickstone unless I will it. Open your gates and submit to me, and we may speak of your city's continued survival. Refuse this first and only offer, and you shall watch your people starve and your city crumble to nothing. Millis Blackclad. It is Eisen who speaks first. So 'tis my predecessor who has indeed returned to wreak his revenge. These voices are going to be all over the place because I'm trying to juggle 6 of them, so I'm sorry. Dame Mildred nods. I knew I should have gutted the bastard when I had the chance, she snarls. I am loath to agree with a knight of Kendrickstone, William of Halliford begins, in his customarily soothing tones, but I must concur. He turns to Mildred, his eyes alight. You should have gutted the bastard when you had the chance. The Duke leans forward, his expression defeated. We may have no choice but to accept these terms, as abhorrent as they seem. Eisen grits his teeth, and Dame Mildred's hand balls into a fist, so hard that her knuckles go white. Never! Not so long as any... The Duke raises his hand in a calming gesture. There is little food left in the city. We shall perhaps last another... He turns to William, who nods slightly. 2 weeks before large parts of the city begin to starve? The Duke's voice grows stronger and steadier now. As terrible as it may be to submit to ourselves to Milanus and his bandit army, I will not see my people starve to death in their homes, if that is the alternative. The room goes quiet as you all digest the Duke's words. To give up one of the greatest cities in Concordat to a vengeful mage and a bandit army. Could you even consider it? Prevent mass suffering? That'd be cool, but we're going to screw ourselves. If you've been watching our Final Fantasy playthrough, you know how that goes down. Don't give the bad guys anything. If you have a card to play, hold on to it. We won't give them the city. We would sooner suffer and die. Oops. Surrendering to the bandits outside the walls might save you some from starvation, but what guarantee is there that the bandits will leave you with your belongings, your weapons, or even your life? Exactly. William of Halliford breaks the silence. There must be another way, a third option, he says, a hint of urgency slipping into his voice. He has the most to lose. He derives all of his wealth and power from the city's people. Duke Lyrifric nods. That's why I've brought you here. My finest knight, my court wizard, the man who runs my markets from the shadows, and, he gestures at you, the most well-known of the few adventurers left in Kendrickstone. Oh, hey, cool. The old Duke looks at all four of you meaningfully. We must put aside whatever differences we have and find a third option. Dame Mildred nods back. Then I think I speak for every knight in your service, your grace, when I say that we stand at the ready to carry out any plan. She glares sidelong at William. No matter who it comes from. The well-groomed man glares back. I can say the same for my organization. If it will save the city, my resources are at your disposal. Eisen of Coriolandus smiles then, a grin of a gambler with a winning hand. Then it is best that I tell you all I have something that can even the odds. Oh, has he perfected teleportation? As I'm sure you must know by now, Eisen begins, I began following up on my predecessor's research when I took the post. Milanus of Concordat, Milanus Blackclad now, I suppose, had a theory that the Flowering Court had perfected some sort of teleportation magic. Nonsense, interjects William Halliford. Teleportation is impossible. Eisen shakes his head. On the contrary, it is quite possible. According to my predecessor's notes, he concluded that the ruined stone circles in the forest outside the city are, in fact, teleportation rings. I believe Milanus Blackclad is using those runes to move his bandits from one side of the forest to the other instantly. The Duke nods. Yes, I have read your report. He turns to you now. You say the bandit camp disappeared in a flash of light? Before you can answer, Eisen shakes his head. Not disappeared. Transported to the other side of the ruins. Transported to one of the other ruins. Before I knew this, I had been trying to recreate Milanus's experiments on teleportation without resorting to the measures he took, but two things stymied me. One was my inability to recreate the material used by the Flowering Courts to build their circles. The other was even more worrying. The wizard takes a breath and sighs. You see, the teleportation process is not perfect. When a person's mind and body are torn from one another in the world and thrown into another, some parts of the spirit are lost. A person's mind is twisted, made cold, and numbed to compassion and gentleness. Eventually the mind recovers. But if a person is subjected to such a process repeatedly... The Duke nods gravely. Then their mind remains twisted. If they get within the walls, they will show us no mercy. Eisen nods back gravely. Yes. Where's my mouse? There it is. So, says Dame Mildred, her voice edged with growing frustration, how is any of this supposed to help even the odds? The court wizard raises a placating hand. Patience, Lady Knight, let me explain. When our young friend returned with her account of the bandit camp, I refocused my efforts. Now that I knew the bandits were using teleportation circles to move their camp, I worked to find a way to track when each circle was used. I believe I have succeeded. The Duke leans forward, his hand gripping the arm of his chair. Are you saying... Eisen nods. I believe I will soon be able to track the location of the bandit camp at will. Oh shit, that's pretty awesome. Naturally, Eisen continues, I have a plan to use this to our advantage. Dame Mildred nods. I've got an idea too. Interesting, William of Halliford says. I too have a way in which we might use this to end the bandit threat. The Duke smiles for the first time since the meeting began. Good, good. I also have a plan. Something daring and risky, as no doubt all your schemes are. Something I would have readily accepted in my youth. The old man breathes deeply and shakes his head. But it is not we who must carry out these plans, I suspect. Once again, the Duke's cold blue eyes settle on you. That is a job for the young. The others at the table nod. Duke Lyrifric's gaze does not waver. Then If it is our young adventurer who must be the tip of the spear, it would only be fitting for her to hear each plan and choose which approach to take. You find yourself breathing just a little bit quicker. In short, the Duke is giving you the responsibility of not just choosing, but carrying out the plan that might save or doom the city. No pressure. Okay, well, let's start with the Duke's plan. Then we'll hear. Basically, I'm going to listen to each plan and just impulse pick. The Duke nods and turns to the court wizard. Master Eisen, when the magic circle is activated, it takes every person in that circle elsewhere, doesn't it? Eisen nods. Everyone and everything, Your Grace. Duke Learfric strokes his chin. That would mean that if we were able to get a force within the circle, they would be unable to escape from it, even if that force were, say, a dozen knights, correct? The wizard nods again. That is so, Your Grace. The problem is getting those knights close enough without being detected by sentries or guards. If our soldiers are detected at a distance, Milninus Blackclad would be able to get his bandits away before they can get close. The Duke nods. Then it seems that the key would be to convince the sentries that nothing is amiss until it is too late. And let's ask how we'd fool the sentries. Oh, he's gonna leave that to us. The old Duke shrugs. You are young and clever, are you not? Surely you will find a way to do the job. Eisen shakes his head. Perhaps you ask too much of her, Your Grace. Surely. Adventurers must rise to any challenge if they are to become heroes, the Duke cuts in, his voice loud and clear. He turns to you. If you do not think it can be done, then by all means, choose some other approach. But if you can pull it off, it will be a feat to be spoken of, I can assure you. And what happens after, Your Grace? The Duke smiles. After you get a dozen heavily armed knights into the midst of these bandits, you mean? Violence, I think, Dame Mildred interjects. A great deal of violence, within a very short span of time. The knight smiles rather viciously. The Duke gives her a look. We'll arrest the ones that survive, of course. Oh, we'll arrest the ones that survive, of course, she adds sheepishly. Okay, let's hear some other plans. What is your plan, Mr. Eisen? Oh, shit. Eisen turns to you. My plan is very simple. It will, however, require at least a basic knowledge of magic. Well, let's take a look. Our magic. Lackluster. Awesome. We're not going with this plan. You nod. I know a bit of magic. What's the plan? Eisen's widen just a little. Do you now? Well, we must hope that that little bit will prove enough. The wizard continues. Since we know where these bandits are at any time, we also know where they are not. With that in mind, I propose we go to one of the empty magic circles and try to disrupt its enchantments. Since all 4 circles are linked, I suspect that disabling one will disable the others. With this done, the bandits will be unable to escape an attack by our knights. Dame Mildred leans forward, her eyes narrowed in suspicion. I'm sensing a catch here, Master Wizard. Eisen nods. Well, yes, there is a problem. Namely the fact that nobody has ever tried to disrupt a flowering court enchantment before. Wait, what? The Duke looks at the wizard quizzically. Do you think it can be done? Eisen looks back, his eyes intent. I know it can be done. The records kept by the previous court wizard tells of a tomb that survived the disappearance of the flowering court, one which offers a clue to dispelling its magic. The records say it was stored in a vault deep under this very keep. The William of Halliford nods. I've heard of it. The Book of Mad Whispers. The what? Do I want to know why the book is called that? No, I don't. How do I get the book? The Duke turns to you. It is. He hesitates for a moment, then begins again. The book was ordered sealed deep under the keep on the orders of my great-grandfather, the reigning duchess at the time. Oh, great-grandmother, the reigning duchess at the time. 4 guards watch its entrance at all times. Beyond, there is a passage full of traps and a locked door leading to the book itself. The old man holds up a thin silver chain hanging around his neck. A small silver key dangles from it. I can give you the key to the doors, but I do not know where the traps are hidden. Anyone who did is long dead. So you'll have to dodge a hallway full of traps to get the damn thing, then dodge the same traps to get out, and nobody knows where the traps are. Great. Okay. I don't like... Where's my mouse? It vanishes for some reason when I'm recording. Okay, so right now, Duke's plan is the best. Distract sentries. Alright, who's next? Well, let's hear Dame Mildred. The knight nods and leans forward. Normally, in a situation like this, when we know where the enemy is, we would muster the knights and hit the bandits with everything we've got. William of Halliford casts a sidelong glance at the knight. So what's stopping you? Surely the prowess of the much-vaunted knights of Kendrickstone would prove more than sufficient to deal with a handful of bandits. Dame Mildred nods. It would. You know it, I know it, and Milanus Blackclad knows it, which is the problem. If he sees all of his knights coming at us, he'll just move his camp to another circle, and it will take us a day to follow him. The knight shakes her head. I think we should split up the knights into 3 groups, 1 to each of the magic circles not currently holding the bandit camp. If the bandits try to escape to another circle, we'll have knights waiting there for them. To the camp itself, we need to send a force that Milanus won't consider a threat. Eisen leans forward. You mean someone who was all but unknown at the time of my predecessor's exile, like... Dame Mildred turns towards you. Yes, absolutely. Hello. I don't know why my mouse goes invisible like that, but whatever. Insanity! William of Halliford exclaims. You expect the girl to attack the bandit camp? She'll be cut down in a heartbeat. Dame Mildred shakes her head. Not if she moves quickly, fights well, and doesn't let the bandits use their numbers against her. Then she can get in, slay Milanus the Black quickly, and get out. I don't like this at all. The knight turns to the Duke. There is one other thing. For this plan to work, our chosen agent must have every advantage. Your Grace, I seek permission to allow this adventurer to take with her the sword of the Kendrick Giant Slayer. The Duke hisses in surprise, but after a long pause, he approves. He nods approval. If this adventurer is to be found worthy by the wards that guard the blade, then she has my permission. I don't give a shit about this plan at all. William, what's your plan? My plan is rather simple, really, the well-groomed man explains, as he plucks a gold piece from his belt and begins bouncing it across his knuckles. The mage is the one leading the bandits, and he's the only one with the ability to operate the magic circles. We know where he is, so all our young compatriot has to do is get into the camp and find Mildred Blackclad. Mildred's eyes narrow. Then what? William of Halliford snorts in derision. Come now, young knight. You know as well as I do what happens next. It starts with an S and ends with a litting his throat. That's murder, the knight growls. So if you cut a foe's throat, it's murder. But if you stab him in the front, as your knights train to do every day, then it's honorable combat, William responds. Dame Mildred quickly changes the subject. Fine. How does our assassin get in, then? The well-groomed man smiles. She'll need a disguise, and maybe a password, too, to get past the sentries. How do we get past the password? William of Halliford shrugs. You know where the bandit camp is for the moment. Might you not just ambush one of their patrols or sentries? You could, but that would involve getting awfully close to their main bandit camp. I'm sure you'll think of something, the crime lord concludes. You're clever enough. I am ready to choose. We are totally going with the Duke's plan, because we can distract a handful of guys, and then we've got the backup to get there. The Knights' plan is we go and fight the whole bandit camp on our own, and the Knights protect themselves or protect anything from teleporting away. That's us dying. Court Wizard, he wanted us to go and break an enchantment. Nope, we don't know magic. Crime Lord is sneak in and assassinate him. Nope. We go Duke. Duke. Finally, you decide. I prefer your plan, Your Grace. Duke Learfrick smiles. It is the sort of plan that I would have preferred in my youth. May it serve you well. I suggest that you use today to prepare and begin tomorrow morning. One by one, the old man looks at each of you at the table. Today, we have made decisions that may do more save our city. Let us hope they have been the right ones. This council meeting is dismissed. The guards open the doors, flooding the dark chamber with the light of the outside world. Over the next few moments, each of you stands up and makes your way out of the council room. You're nearly to the door when you hear a voice from behind you. Young woman, might I speak with you for a moment? You turn to see the Duke, still sitting in his chair. Well, you aren't going to say no, are you? You turn around to face the old, one-armed nobleman, still regal and imposing despite his years. You remind me a lot of myself, in my youth, you know. I am told that you are one to rely on words before blade or spell. That bespeaks a wisdom within that many adventurers never gain. The Duke stands from his chair and walks over to you. Even stooped and white-haired, he towers over you. With his hand, he unbuckles his cloak and sweeps it from his shoulders. Without it, the Duke seems somehow less vibrant, less regal, as if he were just an old man in fine clothes. I won this cloak in a dice game with a sorceress in the Iron Marches 50 years ago. It has served me well since then. The Duke bundles up the heavy garment and hands it to you. I would like you to have it. The cloak uses some sort of illusion magic, the old Duke explains as you slip it over your shoulders and fiddle with the silver brooch. If you feign confidence, it will make you look confident. If you hunch your shoulders and pretend to be afraid, it will give off the reek of fear. You feel no different when the entirely mundane-looking wool settles on your shoulders, but judging by the Duke's reaction, it works just fine. We could probably convince him to come with us, but nah, we could thank him. Let's ask him about his days as an adventurer. The old man shakes his head. Another day. Perhaps, maybe another day, my girl, when times are less dire. There are many stories, and they flow the best when not told under the shadow of impending doom. In better times, then, you ask? The Duke nods. In better times. Well, thank you for your gift, Your Grace. The Duke smiles back. You are welcome. I wish you good luck and victory. You nod and make your way out of the council chamber. Let's just see. Holy shit, 7. I wonder what the cap is. I wonder if it's like +2. Imagine it'd be 9 because the +2 from Morel. Who knows? You spend the rest of the day in preparation. You test your weapons, then clean them, and then test them, and then clean them. You look over the contents of your pack, and then do it all again. You won't be able to afford failure. which means you can't afford to have your equipment fail you. By the time you are done, it is already dark and your stomach is rumbling. You eat a quick meal and go to bed. You go to bed thinking of your year in Kendrickstone. You think of the failures that have riddled your adventuring career so far, and the many times you have come up short in the past year. You think of your reputation, despite all your hardships, you have managed to build up, bit by bit. You think of your near empty belt pouch. Your career as an adventurer has left you destitute. You think of all these things, and you find your sleep troubled, your uncertainties keeping you awake on the eve of the biggest challenge that you have ever faced. You toss and turn, hoping desperately that the approaching sunrise will not be your last. Chapter 8. That'll be next time. We're not feeling too bad. We have 20 coins in our pocket. We've got a loot. We have a big stick. And we have a fancy cloak. We are going into the final battle next week. And so I will see you guys then. Later.